They didn't even say my name. That was the first thing I noticed. The voicemail started with my mom's voice. It sounded cold, like she had practiced it. "Hi, we've made a decision. We're changing how Rhodes manufacturing works. Starting today, you're no longer part of the company. Our lawyer will contact you." Then nothing. No thank you. No Vivian. It used to be my name on everything. The invoices, the numbers, the loan papers. But not on this message. I listened. To it again. Slower. Then one more time, just to see if maybe there was another message after. Something kinder. There wasn't. My name is Vivian Rhodes. I'm 38 years old. I started working at Rhodes Manufacturing when I was 21. That's 17 years. 17 tax seasons. 17 years without taking a full break in December. The company has my family's name. It was started by my grandpa. But I was the one holding it up when things got tough. Now I was gone. No meeting, no talk, just a voicemail. I was sitting in my kitchen in Seattle. My coffee was still in the mug, but it had gone cold. The fridge humming was louder than usual. Or maybe the silence around me just made it feel that way. My dad didn't say anything in the voicemail, but I knew he was there. I heard his soft breath after my mom said attorney. That quiet sound was his way of agreeing. His name is Graham. My mom's name is Elaine. They started running the company after my grandpa died. But it was my time, my effort, and my hard work that kept everything running. They both made this decision. I could have called them, asked why, maybe even begged for answers. But I didn't. Instead, I opened my laptop and found the email. Thread with a lawyer I had met at a boring finance event 2 years ago. I typed, "It's time. Let's talk options." Then I hit send. The first time I stepped onto the factory floor, I was 21. My shoes were shiny. My suit looked too fancy. One of the workers joked I looked like I was going to a bank interview. He wasn't wrong. I was young and didn't know much. But I was ready to learn. My grandpa, Richard Rhodes, started the company in 1967 with one welding machine and a handshake. He died right after I finished college. The company went to my parents, 50% to my dad, 30% to my mom, and 20% set aside for my older brother Zach in case he ever joined. But Zach never came. He liked startup businesses and modern offices. He said factories were too dusty for someone with big ideas. He moved to Austin, messed up 3 times, and came back. But not to work hard. He got a fancy title, strategic direction. Meanwhile, I stayed. I worked in buying, then payroll, took classes at night, learned supply chains, balanced the books, fixed the paperwork when it was all a mess. No one said thank you, but they stopped questioning me. My mom used to tell people, "Viv's our numbers girl," like I was still a kid doing her bills at the kitchen table. She'd laugh, "Don't know what we'd do without her." I believed that. For years, I lived for those words. One year, I even took a second loan on my house to pay company salaries after 2 big clients didn't pay us. I didn't tell anyone, not even my parents. I sent the money through a hidden company so it didn't look like we were desperate. I called it stabilization liquidity in the report. The next quarter, things got better. I heard my dad tell someone, "Zach made a smart call on that invoice thing." He was proud of him. Zach hadn't even opened QuickBooks in months. I didn't say anything. I just swallowed it. I told myself it didn't matter who got the credit. What mattered was the company surviving. That was my job. Not the name in the newspaper, but the name in the "in case of emergency" folder. But things changed. Slowly, I stopped getting invited to important meetings. Mom said, "You're already doing so much. Just focus on what you're good at." Then a new company chart came out. My name wasn't on it. I asked why. Mom smiled, touched my arm, and said, "Viv, of course. We value you. It's just a chart. Don't overthink it." That was 2 years ago. A year ago, my picture disappeared from the company website. The About Us page listed Dad as founder, Mom as president, and Zach as executive vision lead. There was no CFO, no mention of finance, no me. I took a screenshot, not because I needed proof, but because part of me still couldn't believe it. I had become the invisible gear, the part that only gets noticed when it breaks. But I stayed, because deep down, I still believed they'd notice me again, that everything I did for them still mattered, that maybe family still meant something, but it didn't happen all at once. That's the sad part. I wasn't fired. There was no big argument. It was just one thing taken away after another. First a folder, then my access to files, then removed from the group chats. I found out when I couldn't open a spreadsheet I had built from scratch 6 years ago. The screen said, "Access. Denied. I thought it was a mistake." I emailed Zach. He said, "Oh yeah, we moved finance to a new system. No big deal." I asked to be added back. He never did. A few weeks later, my badge stopped working on the second floor. Mom said she'd check the system. She never did. Peace. By peace, the company moved on without me. Faster, sloppier. But no one cared. Then I got the annual report. It arrived late. It was printed, not emailed. My copy was missing charts. The writing style was different. It sounded like Zach. But what really hit me? The signature? Elaine, Graham, Zach. 3 names, not 4. I checked the real papers. I still owned 40%, but on everything else, memos, proposals, new policies, I was gone. And this time, there wasn't even the sound of a fridge to cover it up. Just nothing. They didn't forget me. They erased me. There's a difference. For days, I waited, just out of habit. Maybe someone would check in, ask if I was okay, say it was all a mistake, promise to fix it. No one did. And then something shifted. Not like a storm, more like a door closing softly behind you. You don't hear it, but you feel the air change. I found that old email from Phoenix, the one with the lawyer, Janet Lynn. She worked in private equity. I had kept her card. I wrote her, "Janet, I'm ready to explore options about my 40% in roads manufacturing. There have been some changes. Let me know when we can talk." Vivian Rhodes. She replied in an hour. "Understood. I'll loop in our team. Quiet diligence first. No alerts." That line stayed in my mind. Quiet diligence. It felt like a language I finally understood. While they were pushing me out, I was preparing something else. Not revenge, not even justice. Just an exit. But not on their terms. I began collecting everything. Emails, records, transfers, old QuickBooks files, even the loans I secretly gave the company to help us survive. Everything I'd done to keep roads from falling apart, every contribution they never acknowledged, was saved. I had folders full of them, spreadsheets, PDFs, bank records, a paper trail they assumed I'd forgotten, but I hadn't. I printed every file, labeled each one, color-coded by year. It took days. I worked late into the night, just the desk lamp glowing and the soft hum of Seattle rain against the window. I wasn't angry. I was accurate. I wasn't balancing their books. I was balancing mine. Janet and her team reviewed it all. We talked structures, buyer profiles, how to do this quietly, legally, cleanly. I didn't tell anyone, not my friends, not even my assistant. They'd taken 17 years of my work and reduced it to a single voicemail. I would return that silence and make it expensive. We didn't meet in an office. We met in a quiet booth at a restaurant in Bellevue, just across the lake. No logos, no contracts on the table, just tea and confirmation. The man across from me introduced himself as Daniel Meyer. Calm, gray sweater, polite tone, no pitch deck. His firm specialized in buying minority stakes in mid-size family companies, ones showing what he called transition turbulence. I called it abandonment. Janet had introduced us. Legally? Precisely. Daniel didn't ask me to bash my family. He didn't have to. My documents spoke for me. The personal loans, the emergency payroll saves, the guarantees I covered with my own assets. He flipped through the binder I'd prepared. Tabbed, color-coded, organized. "You were the stopgap," he said simply. "They leaned on you until they thought they didn't need you." I said nothing, just watched the steam curl from his. Cup over the next week, his team ran their own due diligence. They pulled board minutes, lease schedules, contract details, most of it public or accessible through my ownership. What they found wasn't clean. One line item marked strategic reinvestment led to a failed expansion in Texas. Zach's idea? Elaine's push. Over $800,000 in losses, hidden under soft budgets and vague language. Another flagged duplicated payments to a marketing firm with no address, likely a shell, a favor, or worse. I didn't ask questions. I didn't need answers. I had what I needed. 2 weeks later, the deal was done. My 40% stake, fairly valued by a third party, was transferred to Daniel's firm. No board vote, no drama. The operating agreement hadn't been updated since 2016. No right of first refusal. I had every right to sell. We signed in a neutral downtown office. No family crests, no Rhodes quotes on the walls, just polished maple and silence. When the funds cleared, Janet wrote my exit memo. I didn't read it twice. Instead, I played Elaine's original voicemail one last time. "You'll be hearing from our attorney." Meant as a warning, it became a door. I archived it. Then I sent a new email. Simple. Transfer complete. All. Communications to be directed through counsel. No sign-off, just closure. Then I closed the Rhodes folder on my desktop and didn't save changes. The first call came at 6:12 a.m. I let it ring, then the second. By the time I finished my coffee, there were 16 missed calls. By noon, 47. By the next morning, 72. Zach tried every number. My cell, my office, even Janet's direct line. She ignored them. By the third day, I picked up. Not out of sympathy, but curiosity. I wanted to hear what panic sounded like in his voice. Viv, you have to undo this. Please. You don't understand. They froze everything. Your buyer, they're launching a forensic audit. They found discrepancies. I stayed quiet. They're going back years, he gasped. The Texas expansion, the vendor contracts, even Mom's restructuring memos. Viv, they found things. Things that look bad, I asked calmly. Or things that are bad? He didn't answer. You have to help us, he pleaded. Talk to them. Just tell them everything's fine. That we're clean. I can't do that. Why not? Because, I said, leaning back, you told me I was out. He went quiet. I was told to expect a call from your lawyer. Instead, my buyer got it. Now you have a new stakeholder with questions I don't have to answer. Viv, his voice cracked. It wasn't supposed to go like this. Mom didn't think you'd actually what? I asked. Actually leave. Not like this. Not sell your shares. Not to them. He paused. You were supposed to fight. You always fight. That made me pause. For a second, he almost sounded like the boy I used to share popsicles with after school, before we grew into titles we never asked for. You wanted me to fight, I said, so you could forgive me when I lost. He didn't deny it. That was the setup. If I reacted, they'd win. If I stayed quiet, they expected I'd crawl back. But I didn't. I walked out and locked the door behind me. You can fix this, he said softly. Just one call. No, I said. You fix it. You're the one who said I wasn't part of the real decisions. Now you are. I hung up. He called again. I didn't answer. 10 minutes later, Janet called. The audit was official. My former Title appeared in older filings, missing from newer ones. Legal exposure was likely. In short, they were in trouble. I didn't feel joy or revenge, just stillness. Like, I'd stepped outside a storm I'd stood in for 17 years and finally realized it was raining. A few days later, Elaine emailed. Just one line. "Can we meet privately? No lawyers." I didn't reply. I printed it, labeled a new folder, after. That was enough. The collapse wasn't loud, no screaming, no headlines, just quiet, like a building falling after its last support beam is removed. Zach stopped calling. Elaine switched to vague weekly emails, always signed warmly. Mom never reached out at all. I forwarded everything to Janet. Her paralegal handled the rest. I never saw the replies. Some part of me expected silence to feel like grief. But it didn't. It felt like breathing room. I stopped clenching my jaw at night, stopped checking my phone every 5 minutes. I had weekends again. Coffee that stayed hot. Sunlight that didn't feel wasted. For the first time in years, my calendar was mine. And in that space, I understood something. They didn't cut me out because I was weak. They cut me out because I made it work. Because I was the part they couldn't control or credit. So they erased me. But here's the truth about being erased. It doesn't make you disappear. It just makes you harder to use. The package came on a Thursday. No return address, no card, just a brown envelope with my name in my mother's handwriting. Inside was a photo frame, the same one from Rhodes' front office. In the picture, we were smiling in front of the warehouse. Back then, I believed we'd built something together. But now, I saw it differently. A new chip in the frame. A crack through the glass. Right across my face. Not broken, just worn. Like time had slowly rubbed me out. I didn't fix it. I didn't hang it. I didn't keep it on my desk. I placed it in a drawer and closed it. Quietly. That was the last. No rage, no need for a final word. They had said, "You're out." And I had answered, "Understood." Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. And if you've ever been quietly erased, not because you failed, but because you held everything together, you don't need to explain. Just leave one symbol below.